Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be. We have a minute or two before we get this webinar going. But hi, everybody who's already logged in. It's great to have you with us. We're going to get going in about a minute or so. So get yourself something to drink, whatever time of day it is, whatever's appropriate at that time of day for you. We've got an hour together, and you really do want to be able to sit back and concentrate on this webinar. Make sure you can see your screen. I've got some great slides to show you, and make sure that you're ready to go with pen, paper, or digital technology to record your notes. So we'll get going in about a minute or so. I'll speak to you then. Good day, wherever you happen to find yourself in the world. Welcome to this Future of Work Academy Managing Millennials webinar. My name is Graeme Codrington, and I'm one of the founders and the team of developers at the Future of Work Academy. It's great to have you along on this webinar. We're going to be together for an hour. I hope you can allocate some time, not just in your diary, but also in your head. As you listen to me, I'm going to be moving fairly quickly through some important information about what we need to do in order to manage and get the most out of the youngest people in our workplace. If we've never met before, as I said, my name is Graeme Codrington. I'm the author of a number of books, but I suppose for today's webinar, the most important of those titles are Mind the Gap, which is a best-selling business book that looks at different generations, understanding older and younger people in the world of work, the world around us, so Mind the Gap. It's already on its third edition and about its 25th printing. So thank you to all of those of you who have read it over the years, and keep it selling and ticking over in the bookstores. Then also maybe of interest today, I'm the author of Future Proof Your Child, also published by Penguin and a best-selling book in its own right. Looking at, that's especially looking at sort of primary school aged children, but it feeds into our understanding of this younger generation. I must say that also personally, I'm connected to this younger generation. This is that's probably about a year out of date photo at the moment of my family, my wife, Jane, and my 3 daughters, all of whom are millennials. The oldest of whom, Amy, is now a university student. So this is not just a professional topic that I'm interested in, but it is also something that I'm personally interested in. And now I know that a whole lot of you are interested in this as well, because we've had unprecedented interest in this particular podcast. I know that there are a lot of people from some of our clients, and this is a topic I've worked with many clients on over the years. In fact, here's just a summary of some of the clients that I've worked with over the last 20 years on this particular topic and on the issue of disruption. And I know that many of our clients have signed up for this webinar, and so welcome to you from the world of work. We also know that quite a few of you have signed up just in your personal capacity as parents. Maybe you're involved with young people. You want to just understand them a little bit more and get more out of them. It's great to have you along. So maybe let's just quickly talk about who is here. I know that my team has asked you to just check in, make sure that things are working, and just let us know where you are speaking from. So I think a few of you have done that. So David from Surrey in the UK, Francis from Ghana. It's great to have you. A few South Africans, Jakes and Chris. Ananda from Mauritius, Steve from England. Sure, I'm looking through here. We've got a nice multinational group today. Eva from Spain, it's great to have you with us. Deborah from the UAE, fantastic to have you with us. Colleen from Paris, and so on. Now that list is getting a little bit too long for me. Monica from Colombia. You're probably furthest away from me today. It's fantastic to have you all on board. And just so that you know, you are going to get a copy of the slides that are available. You will have access to a repeat of this webinar as well. So you can share it with people and give them the content. The reason we chose this topic, and my next slide, this is probably an overstated image, but I must say that we have a lot of people, a lot of our clients that we engage with are really frustrated with the youngest generation in the workplace. They say things like, today's young people have no common sense. They don't take initiative. They don't seem to see things through to the end. I get frustrated with them. Some people say, why should we change in our workplace in order to accommodate this younger generation? I mean, why should we bend over backwards for them? Surely they are coming into our workplaces and they should change to adapt to our culture. Well, you could take that attitude, and then you'll have no young people working for you within a few years. They will leave. Today's young people are, in fact, different. Now, I don't think we need to bend over backwards for them, and I'm not going to suggest that in this webinar, but I am going to suggest that we do have to change the way that we engage with them. It might not be a surprise to you to discover that today's young people are equally frustrated with the world of work. In fact, more than frustrated, they're actually desperate. Many of them are desperate to say, how do I get the most out of my workplace? I'm ambitious. I've studied. I'm now in the workplace. I want to make a difference. Obviously, they want a career. They want to earn some money, but they can't do it. The expectations of their bosses are too much. They don't like the workplace, and so all of us are in trouble. Older people frustrated with younger people frustrated with older people. In fact, it might even be worse than you thought. Gallup, who are the research people out of the United States of America, did some research last year and discovered that only 29% of young millennials felt that they were engaged in the workplace. That's a frightening number. Less than a third of young people say, the workplace is good for me. By the way, I've given you the link there on the screen. If you're watching the screen, take a quick photograph of that link so that you can look up this research, or make sure that you connect with us so that you can get these slides. They will be available on our website. We'll show you how to do that at the end of the session, how to get access to these slides. Fortune magazine run a survey every year, and they come up with the best companies for millennials to work at. And out of their research, again, I've given you a link there. Have a look at the screen to access the link to this particular piece of research and this survey that gets done every year in the middle of the year. last year they identified 3 key things that young people want. And I'm going to expand on these 3 things, but this is a great place for us to start. They want connections with their managers. They want to see that their work is making a difference. They want opportunities for learning and development. These don't sound like extraordinary demands. These don't sound like unrealistic expectations of the world of work. So what is it that we need to do? What is the problem? And how do we fix it? Well, obviously the starting point is to have some understanding, a diagnosis of the problem. And now I don't have time to go into the detail of this today. This is something that our team talks about a lot. We've got some great resources for you to read. In fact, we put a blog entry onto our blog that deals precisely with this. And again, there's a link on your screen to go and have a look at that. But today's young people are in fact different. They are not just younger versions of us. For a number of reasons. First of all, the world is different. I'm in my 40s, and the world that the young 20-something employee comes into today is very different from the world that I entered. I mean, when I entered the world of work, there were still typing pools, and the fax machine was guarded by somebody, and you had to have a special code to use some of the technology in the office because they didn't want anybody to just use it. And color photocopy machines were the level of high tech I had available to me. And literally, there weren't even emails. And today's young people walk into the office with their mobile devices stuck to their hands, and the digital world whizzing around them. And they do bring a different set of expectations because of that. They also see life differently. I mean, most of today's young millennials are expecting to live to 100. They're not expecting to retire at 65. And by the age of 25, they come into the world of work, and between the ages of 25 and 30, they are having a quarter-life crisis at the moment. Now, don't laugh at that. We do, I suppose, laugh at people who are having a midlife crisis. You know, the men anyway fluff up their chest hairs and go and buy a Harley Davidson. We sort of laugh at them, but we also recognize it as a real thing. And it changes how they think, and we have to take account of the midlife crisis. Well, what about a first quarter life crisis between ages 25 and 30? And issues of student debt and the fast-paced workplace and so on. So there are a whole lot of different things that we can indicate and see as a diagnosis that today's young people are not just younger versions of us. They have different expectations because the world of work is substantially different from what it is today. Now, as I say, I'm not going to say more about that now. There's a lot more that we could talk about. And I'm going to focus in on 12 key things that clever companies are doing to take account of the fact that today's young people are different. And that's really the focus of our webinar. But those of you who want more information, there is the link. In fact, we're obviously in the hour that we've got together, and we are actually going to have time for Q&A at the end. So if you have questions, I'm leaving time in an hour for Q&A, and we can interact. If you want more resources on this, if you want to understand the changing future of work, you want to understand the changing workplace, and if you want more resources to help you and your team to do a better job of preparing yourself for the changing world of work, well, I'm going to talk a little bit later about the Future of Work Academy. I'll come back to that a little bit later and give you some more insights into who we are, why we do what we do, and some of the resources that we have available for you. But for now, you're here for this webinar. There's a few hundred of us on the webinar today. So let's dive into our topic. This issue of understanding the millennials, or Generation Y, or the young people if you don't like labels. To be specific about who we're talking about, I'm not going to be specific. It's the youngest people in your workplace. Let's call them the 20-somethings. I'm not going to get into the detail of generational theory and specific definitions, but it's the youngest people born and brought up in the internet digital age, who have come into our workplaces with a very different attitude to the world of work. And I want to share with you some of the clever things that companies are doing around the world to make sense of these millennials, to get the most out of them. This isn't a comprehensive list, and it really is just looking at companies that are doing things. So you can't do all of these things. There isn't a company in the world that's doing all 12 of the things I'm going to talk about, because I'm going to show you different companies doing different things. So you'll want to choose some of these and try them. For some of you, this will just be an affirmation that you are already doing some of the things you need to do. Try some more. If you do have questions for me as we go along, please keep them. I will tell you when I'm ready for your questions, and then you can put them into the chat facility. My colleague Jude at the moment is already helping me out. She's managing the chat facility. I see as I look at it, she's helping a few of you who've got some problems with the technology. Hopefully she's sorting all of you out there, trying different browsers and moving onto your smartphones and so on. But if you send something, a message through right now, Jude will pick it up. But it will be better if you keep your questions through to the end, and then we'll have an opportunity, and you'll do it through the chat facility. So you will have to type out your questions. That we won't. There's too many people on this webinar for us to talk. So let's dive in then to these things. The 12 things that I think clever companies are doing around the world. The first is that companies are creating a really high trust culture. Now, let me maybe put this in the words of the president of a organization called Great Places to Work. This is another group of companies that do surveys about where we would find good places to work. And the president, let me read this. Chinwe Onyegoro, who is the president of the Great Place to Work, makes a really good point. Chinwe says, you might find some initial benefits to ditching your dress code, throwing out cubicles, but superficial changes like these won't improve the retention among millennials unless they're accompanied by managers making authentic connections with employees. Now, this is a very important point, because a lot of older people say, well, are we going to have to put jacuzzis in the reception? You know, do we have to copy Google and put slides from the 3rd floor down to the 1st floor meeting area? Do we have to have Nespresso coffee machines available and artisan craft beer on a Friday afternoon? Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't do those things. Young people like a great workplace and they like a bit of fun. But if those are just sort of plasters on top of a deep wound, the deep wound being a really workplace, a really bad workplace, and you think you can just put a few little surface level changes onto things, and then everything's going to be fine, well, you're badly mistaken. Young people are very good at spotting a good or a bad corporate culture. Well, we all are, right? That's not a young person thing. We're all pretty good at sniffing out whether we work in a toxic workplace. Young people are just more honest with themselves to say, really, do I really want to work here? And it's much easier for a young person to walk away. So what we need to start with is culture. And the most important aspect of culture for young people anyway, for these millennials, is a culture that is characterized by trust. No matter what our age, older or younger people, we tend to be more productive and engaged with our workplace when we feel a bit of pride in our work, when we can experience interaction, collaboration with teammates, and when our work environment is defined by trusting relationships. I know that my boss trusts me. My boss, she'll let me get on with my work, give me good work to do. She'll stretch me a little bit. She'll have my back if something goes wrong. I have trust with my colleagues around me, where I know I can trust them. I don't have two people on my team who are lazy or out of their depth, where I know that together we can achieve something. Millennials, let me quote from that Great Place to Work survey again. Millennials who said that managers take a sincere interest in them as people and not just as employees were 8 times more likely to be engaged in the workplace, to volunteer innovation, to be resilient, and to be retained. Now, what this really means is that senior leaders in your business need to show genuine interest, be genuinely interested in the millennials in the workplace. This is probably the number one thing that you can start doing. This means you're going to have to ask the senior leaders in your team for some time. You're going to have to ask them to free up some space in their diaries, not to do my picture there. That's how not to do it. Not to come and do some supervision, breathing down your neck, kind of making sure you're doing your job type of interaction, but a much more genuine engagement with younger people, not just about their work, but to show genuine interest in them as young people. The second thing you need to do is as part of this, is to show that you trust them. And this you can especially do by letting them get on with their jobs, especially in the areas where they have unique skills in the digital space. Here's a great example. Southern Rail. Now, for those of you who are from the UK, you will know Southern Rail's reputation. I mean, they have a reputation, I think it's well deserved, of being the worst train company, the worst rail operator in the UK. Horrifically bad customer experiences, people moaning about them all the time. Anyway, in July 2017, along comes Eddie. I think Eddie was about 15 years old. Young guy from a local high school. I think there was some connection, maybe his mother or something had a job at Southern Rail. But he comes for work experience to Southern Rail. And they basically say to him, listen, Eddie, I don't know what you can do to help us. You know, we can't get you to drive a train or be a conductor or whatever. Why don't you just take over Southern Rail's Twitter account for a few days? Just answer people on Twitter. And so that's what Eddie did. He sat down and he said, hi, Eddie here. I'm here on work experience and I'm ready to answer your questions. Boom. And Twitter went berserk. People who were complaining about their trains being late complained to Eddie. And Eddie, as a 15-year-old, just interacted with them. He said, oh, okay, let me see what I can find out. He begins to shout around the office. Who knows what's happening on the, on this particular train number, or who knows what's happening at that station? And he then starts to respond to people standing on a train station in July in England, suddenly start having their messages answered. And Eddie's saying to them, look, your train's running 5 minutes late. Just hang in there. It'll be there soon. Or sorry to tell you this, but your train's not coming. You know, it's been cancelled. Suddenly people are interacting. Then Eddie starts joking, having a little bit of 15-year-old banter with people. Now, this doesn't solve anybody's problem, but somebody standing on a train station now, instead of fuming at Southern Rail, are now interacting with somebody. There's a little bit of banter. They're having a little bit of fun. There's a few laugh out loud tweets he sends out. And suddenly everybody starts to notice. Suddenly customers are not complaining so much. Suddenly there's a whole bunch of people waiting for a train that's late that's got a smile on their face. They're showing each other the tweets. Eddie makes a big difference to Southern Rail. Eddie's only 15 years old. But Eddie was left alone to do a job that his boss wouldn't have been able to do because they don't know what the job is. They don't understand Twitter. And in this trusting environment where they trusted Eddie to get on with his job, Eddie enjoyed his job. Now, will Eddie end up working for Southern Rail? Who knows? But Eddie had a great few days, And Southern Rail teaches us the lesson of trusting people to get on with the jobs we've given them. Now, the second thing that you can do, and it's related to this, is do more mentoring and reverse mentoring. The young people like to teach you the things that they know. So, if you get young people, millennials in your office to teach you about technology, they will really enjoy that. They will feel they've contributed, made a difference. But if you also mentor them and you get senior leaders to mentor them. Now, I'm actually nervous of the label I've given this of mentoring, because for some people, that just means a formal mentorship program. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about taking half an hour out of your week to spend some time one-on-one or one-on-two or one-on-three with a group of young people. Tell them what you know, answer their questions, and then get on with your life again. And ask them a few questions, especially about technology. So companies that are really connecting well with millennials are implementing mentoring and reverse mentoring programs. Probably the most famous of these comes out of General Electric. It was something that they were even doing 25 years ago, made famous by Jack Welch, in which he required every 20-something to spend an hour a month with every 50-something and 60-something employee in the business. And matching the older and the younger people together in the business, it's now become a standard program at GE. The third thing you can do, and this might now, I need to be careful that you don't think I'm contradicting myself, but the third thing you need to do is to provide structure and support. So I've said we need to trust people to get on with the job and leave them to get on with the job. But you mustn't just throw them in the deep end and hope that they swim. Now, let me explain this using a little bit of generational theory. Generation X are the group of young people who were born in the 1970s and 80s. And I'm one of those. I'm a Generation Xer. When I arrived in the workplace of the 1990s and early 2000s, I discovered this group of people they called the baby boomers. The baby boomers were this kind of go, 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 yes, 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 we can do it, massive stretch goals. What did they used to call it? BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. And most of you still work for companies where the baby boomers are in charge, so you know what I'm talking about. And baby boomers, in order to get productivity and efficiency and driving towards those goals, they were fairly intense micromanagers. And us Generation Xers who arrived, we didn't like that style. We didn't want somebody breathing down our necks, doing 15-minute kind of timesheets on us. We wanted more freedom. We wanted more flexibility. So us Generation X, we are now the managers. We are now the team leaders. And so we think we're doing a good thing when we say to our team members, I'm going to give you space. I'm going to give you freedom. I'm going to give you the flexibility to do this the way you want to do it. And so we say, I'll tell you what to do, but I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I'm going to leave you to work that out for yourself. And we pat ourselves on the back and we say to ourselves, we're being brilliant managers. Yeah, well, we are if we are managing other Generation X's. Other Generation X's, other 30 and 40-something-year-old people in your business, they're going to thank you for that management style. But the average young person today, I mean, I can speak personally on this. My daughters, in their schoolwork, they have a very structured environment. It's they told what to study. They told exactly what will be in each test. The teachers sort of hold their hands through it. This happens all the way through school. It happens all the way through university. Often these young people have had helicopter parents. Have you heard that phrase before? Parents who hover over their kids, and who will jump at a moment's notice. And they come to the world of work and they expect that structure still to be there. You don't have to micromanage them. They don't want somebody to hold their hand through every step of the process. But this idea of throwing them in the deep end and hoping they swim and saying that's how I would have preferred it, honestly, that doesn't work. You need to give them structure. You need to give them support. You need to give them step-by-step instructions. I know Generation X's, if you're in your 30s or your 40s, you're probably thinking, oh, good grief, that feels like hard work. Well, I don't know. I can't make it easier for you. I can just tell you the truth. You've got to spend a little bit more time. Not every time. The first time, the second time, by the third time, they should have worked it out for themselves. Give more step-by-step instructions. Hold their hands a little bit more at the beginning of a process. Don't just throw them in the deep end. Give them more support. I promise you, it will be worth it. It will be very worth it for you. Now, that leads to my fourth point, which is that we need to give them opportunities for ongoing training and development. This is beyond just the training they need in order to fulfill the job description you hired them to do. So this is not just your normal training. This is further training and develop. Now, let me tell you a story. I haven't told you enough stories yet. Meet Kim Patak, who is a junior engineer at a company called Friesen Nichols. They're an engineering company in the United States of America. And she had a great idea. Kim is the lady on the right there holding that little container. You see, her company used to use a lot of concrete in securing and doing engineering work in waterways. It wasn't a big part of their business. They did a whole lot of different things. But when they worked with water, they used a lot of concrete. I mean, it's standard engineering practice. But Kim didn't like that. She didn't like pouring concrete into waterways. And she had done a little bit of research during one of her university subjects on natural ways to manage waterways. And so she came to the leaders of her company and she said, look, I think there's another way to do this. And her bosses, senior engineers in the business, gave her $10,000 to sign up for a postgraduate engineering program that would look at greener approaches to infrastructure development. And then they also allowed her a number of weeks off over a period of months to go on elective courses on this particular program. All in all, I think it was a year, if I've understood the story correctly, and she went through this program, came back to the business and gave some suggestions to the business to say to the business, I think we could do this in different ways. The business listened to her, implemented her ideas, and suddenly began to win more contracts because this greener, cleaner, more environmentally friendly approach was in fact something that a lot of clients were looking for. So much so that their business has grown to even specialize a little bit in this place. They acquired another company that specialized in natural waterways. They grew a whole new division, and it came out of simply spending a little bit of money on sending a student engineer on a training program. Kim herself said that it felt like she was getting a postgraduate degree program through her company. And it felt amazing to have the support of her company for them to trust her with her idea and invest in her ongoing training and development. They reaped huge rewards. I doubt Kim will be looking for a job somewhere else or be open to headhunters anytime soon. Now, if we're thinking about ongoing job development, then obviously giving young people the opportunity to develop their careers and to feel that their careers are being developed is definitely one of the things that clever companies are doing. We need to do more than just delegate tasks and keep tabs on the assignments that young people do in our business. It's our responsibility to help them to develop, to help them move around within the organization on job rotation, get continued education, opportunities, mentorship. Anyway, I think I'm just repeating myself now. You've understood what I'm saying. Just want to pause at that second. I'm just noticing that there are 3 or 4 people who are saying, so this is out of a few hundred, but there are a few of you who are struggling a little bit with the technology. I'm just checking things on my side. All of my connections and everything, we plugged in via cable directly to a fiber connection. So I'm pretty confident that what we are broadcasting to you is not the problem. So that for some of you, I think it'll be on the receiving side. Hopefully it's not a firewall that's blocking you or something like that, but it might just be that you've had a glitch in your connectivity on your side. We are recording this session. So if it is frustrating for you, if there's buffering happening, you might want to then make sure you've got a better connection and log back in again at some future date. And in fact, Jude will send us all an email, and she'll give us a link, and you can come back in and watch this at a later stage. But thank you. I'm seeing Jan, Alan, Ian, Louise, Dirk, Debbie, Bobby, Dave, Ashley. You're all saying it's all good. So yeah, now we're pretty certain that those who are struggling because of the technology on their side. There's nothing much we can do about that, unfortunately. Okay, but let me keep going. The sixth thing you can do, and the sixth thing that clever companies are doing, is helping their staff, the young employees, to future-proof their careers. I mean, we live at a time in history where we know for sure that the world of work is changing dramatically. Over the next 5 to 10 years, a lot of the tasks, a lot of the jobs we do are going to be replaced by machines and software and robots and so on. And young people need to feel confident that their employers, that the workplace that they are in actually is not just using them as a bit of cannon fodder and then will eject them in 5 years' time when they can replace them with machines. And to do that, we need to help young people to realize we're investing in you, we're upskilling you, we want to keep you in the business, and so we're developing your skills. By the way, this is what our team at the Future of Work Academy actually does. This is what the team is all about. We have looked at the future of work. We've taken the research that our team at Tomorrow Today does, and we have brought it in specifically to asking what are the skills that people are going to need in the future of work. And we've identified 8 essential skill sets. You can see them all there on the screen, from personal intelligence to diversity intelligence, horizon scanning, adaptive intelligence, creativity, curiosity, entrepreneurship, technology skills, and so on. You can see those 8 big categories. And what we are doing in the Future of Work Academy is we're providing courses for each of those 8 areas, alongside a basket of resources that will help you and your team to think about the future of work. And you can use these resources to show your team that you are committed to the future of work, that you understand it, you know what skills are required, you understand what is required to develop those skills, and you are prepared to invest in your youngest staff members by helping them to develop these skills. Now, obviously, you will have some training programs and some courses that are in-house, but those have been designed by your HR and your L&D teams to give the skills that your business needs and that the various functions in your business needs in order to do the job now. What I'm suggesting is that clever companies that are pushing themselves, actually give skills that expand and extend their younger workers. So that these young people say, okay, I'm not just being trained to be your slave for now. I realize, sorry, some people, when I use the word slave, it's a little bit too powerful. It's a little bit too emotive a word. Let me rephrase that. I'm not just being trained in order to deliver the productivity and efficiency you want from me now. You're actually interested in me. You care about me. You're prepared to invest in my development. One of our clients who does this the best is an insurance company in Switzerland called Baloise, and they do, in addition to all the training courses they need to do for the insurance industry, they do courses for people that help them to develop. I mean, I remember seeing a course on art history and a course on jazz music, and I think they do yoga training. And so that might be slightly extreme for some of you, but that's a Swiss insurance company. If they can do it, you can think that way too. So just out of interest, if you are interested, go and have a look at the Future of Work Academy. In fact, I'll come back in a few minutes to just talk about that a little bit more. The seventh thing you want to do is flexible working hours and flexible office arrangements. Now, you know what, really honestly, and just let me give you a bit of a rant alert here for the next 30 seconds. It honestly, it's going to be 2020 soon. We are going to be in the 2020s. That's the proper future, right? 21st century, yeah, that was one thing, but the 2020s is proper science fiction future. And we still have a whole lot of clients around the world who think that if they let some of their employees spend a day or two working from home, that the whole universe will come crashing down around them, that these people will not be able to work well, that they'll be out of contact and unreachable and won't deliver on their goods. Really, honestly, if you are still having the debate about flexible working hours in your office, good grief, you need more help than I can give you, because you've still got to make it to the 21st century, let alone 2020. I know I'm overstating this a little bit for effect, but honestly, it does my head in the number of clients who are still even thinking that this needs to be a debate. We have to do this, people. We have to give flexible working hours and flexible office arrangements. It might not be 100% flexible. It might not be exactly what young people are looking for. But 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, clock in, clock out. Good grief. If you've got that arrangement, well, just leave the webinar now, because the young people are not going to work for you for more than a few weeks at a time. So, I mean, it probably doesn't even need to be said about this. But I mean, yeah, some people are just not getting it. I'm just being alerted here. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Chris has actually added a fantastic little insight here on the chat channel. If you are watching us here, just quickly go to the chat. Chris has given us a link for a Stanford study, which the headline is 2-year Stanford study shows the astonishing productivity boost of working from home. Well, I'm going to go and read that afterwards, Chris. Thank you. I couldn't agree more with Stanford if that headline is accurate. Now, the eighth thing you need to do, the eighth thing that clever companies are doing is they are building collaboration in as part of what happens. Now, I'm not contradicting myself. People who work from home are actually very good at collaborating with each other. They just use digital tools. Now, Ultimate Software is an American software development company that won the best company to work for Millennials survey, the Fortune survey last year. They were the #1 company. And one of the big things that they do is they've got a custom private social network for all of their staff. If I remember correctly, about 700 staff. And they, as part of your initiation, one of the very first things you do is you first of all connect face to face with the senior leaders in the business. They will fly you to the head office to spend a few days with the senior leaders. And the second thing you do is you get tapped into this private social network, which includes very active senior leaders of the business. And this allows you not just to do work-related things, but it allows you to connect with people who have the same hobbies as you, people who've got the same interests, people who like the same music, people who like the same food. So you can connect with a variety of different groups in the business, not just for business-related issues, but for personal stuff as well. Now, this leads nicely to the 9th point, which is you've got to be digitally enabled. I mean, again, I probably didn't need to say this. My favorite example is one of our long-term clients at Tomorrow Today. We've worked with them over a number of years on different things, a UK-based company called Whitbread. They've got a whole lot of different brands. They're a hospitality group. They've got Costa Coffee and Premier Inn and Beefeater and Table and so on. Brands that might be familiar to you if you're in the UK or the Middle East. They're breaking into China now and so on. And Whitbread, amongst other things that they do, but just one example of what they do, they have a magnificent employee app inside the business. Now, let me just say, I'm not an employee of Whitbread. I don't have access to this app, so I'm only going by what people have told me and what I've seen demonstrated at the conferences I've been at for Whitbread. But obviously, one of the things in a hospitality environment is your ability to schedule which shifts I'm going to take. At Costa Coffee, the baristas have to say which shifts they're going to take and when they want to take leave and so on. And it's all done digitally. It's all done via this app. Very easy to do, very easy to manage. You get updates. Training is done via the app. If you want on-the-go training, today's young people don't want training just in case I need it. They want it just in time when I need it. And so you're starting a new shift, you've maybe been away for a week and you want to just remind yourself, how do I do this again? You go into the app, there's a little 30-second video that gives you a quick reminder. Yes, thank you. Off you go. Questions you need, all done, and it's all via this click, 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 easy to use in app. You've got to be digitally enabled if you want to get the most out of the millennials. Talking about digitally enabled, the 10th thing you want to do is use gamification. Now, gamification is about taking the principles and psychology of computer gaming and bringing it into the world of work. So the psychology of computer gaming, for example, is about having goals that you want to get to. That's short-term goals. Leveling up, for example. It's about competition. Where are you on the leaderboard? It's about trying, failing, and then succeeding and not being able to move on to the next level until you've mastered the previous one. Let me give you some examples. A company in South Africa called Discovery, it's an insurance company, has a program called Vitality. And what Vitality does is it wants to not just, so this is health insurance for people, so people who get sick. It's similar to Bupa in the UK, similar to your private health insurance in the United States. And so obviously Discovery want to make sure that people don't get sick. And so they give people points for healthy activity. Every time you go to the gym, you get points. Every time you go for a run, you get points. Every time you go and watch a movie, you get points because you're relaxing. And they've got hundreds of different ways of earning points. And you've got to earn a certain number of points every month in order to keep your status in the system. And your status relates to how much you pay. So ultimately, if you're not earning enough points, you'll pay more for your health insurance. And it's now becoming a worldwide best scenario, a business school case study. So look it up, Discovery Vitality, gamification for fitness. We've also got some clients who use gamification for giving people promotions. Instead of saying to somebody, you only get promoted once a year, once a year promotion, that's ridiculous. Young people today are saying, well, I level up. I level up every week when I'm playing Candy Crush or Angry Birds. So what can I do to level up in the office? And so companies, there was a legal firm that we worked with. I can't mention their name, but it was a firm of lawyers. They decided to take the once a year promotion and break it up into 10 smaller steps. So for the company, it makes no difference. They'll still give you the same level of salary increase over a 12-month period, but they will increase that salary for you pretty much every 6 weeks as you level up. it's not only about salary increments, it's also about giving you extra authority or extra responsibility or a few extra perks. Instead of doing it once a year in a big bundle, they do it once every 6 to 8 weeks in smaller increments. So that's leveling up using gamification and the principles of gamification in the world of work. We also work with a Canadian company called Axonify, which has the concept of what they call micro-learning, this on-demand learning. And Axonify is connecting really well with millennials in the workplace because they are delivering training as and when you need it in a gamified form. I highly recommend you look up Axonify. They're doing some really clever stuff there. The 11th thing you need to do is you need to create work that brings meaning and purpose. Now, I promise you, if you do a Google search on getting the most out of millennials, this issue of meaning and purpose will come up at the top of every list. And it can be a little bit airy-fairy, philosophical kind of stuff. Let me make it real for you in a very, very simple way. You have to make sure that the young people who work for you understand that you are concerned for them as a human being, not just an employee. Now, if you're not prepared to do that, fine. But then also recognize you are always going to have frustration with young people and they are going to leave you. So deal with it. If you want young people to stay, if you want to be connected to them, you have to show them that you care for them as a whole person, not just as an employee. And there are companies that are doing things about this. So, for example, it's about thinking about what are some of the lifestyle goals that young people might have. So, for example, they might have health goals and physical well-being goals. So you as a company get involved with that. Have a gym at the office. Have a running club and people come running together, and then you build a shower so that people can shower before work, but after having run. You maybe change the food that is served in the canteen. People have financial issues. So why don't you do training courses for financial well-being or parenting? Parenting courses is a fantastic thing to do for people. They will feel that you care for them as a person, that you're bringing meaning and purpose is when all the various aspects of their lives come together and they say, I am a whole person. This is bringing me meaning. We can also do things that bring meaning and meaning and purpose. In doing research for this webinar, I found a company we haven't worked with, but this was getting rave reviews. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Social, I suppose. Xocial, social.com. Xocial. As I say, somebody will tell me how to pronounce that company if you've worked with them. But these guys have actually created a fantastic website and a fantastic app where you can go on as a company. You can set up a particular goal. This might be a wellness goal or a health goal or a charity goal or a social development goal. And you then set challenges to achieve that goal. And then people in your team can go into social and into the app. They can see what challenges are available, get involved in those challenges, earn points. They call it competitive kindness. I like it. I like it. Now, there are some companies, these are also some clients we've worked with, who do brilliant things. Novo Nordisk probably deserve a round of applause from all of us. They're a Danish pharmaceutical company, and they give their employees 80 hours, 80, that's 10 working days a year to take time off to go and volunteer at charitable events, community engagement, and that's paid leave, right? So no, it's not leave. Sorry, it's not leave. It's paid time. So 10 of your days every year, you can say to the company, I don't want to work for you today. I want to go do some work at a charity I'm interested in, and so on. And it really, there's a whole team within Novo Nordisk that will help you to do this. They even have an online portal that tracks and helps employees to find volunteering opportunities and then share those opportunities with other people. Deloitte does this as well, the big international professional services and consulting firm. They allow their staff 48 hours of paid time to volunteer and enrich communities every year. Remarkable stuff. In South Africa, there's a fantastic company called Partners for Possibility. You can see their website there on the screen. And what they do is they ask companies to second senior leaders in their businesses, and they match them with headmasters and headmistresses of struggling schools. You then get given training, and then you go and spend a day a month in that school, helping that school to develop. In South Africa, education is in a crisis, and this Partners for Possibility matches people in the business world with schools that need help in terms of administration and team dynamics and management skills and so on. It really is remarkable. Now, I am watching my time, and I'm going to go just a touch over. So for those of you who have got questions, I will finish my section within the hour. If you have questions, you'll need to hang on for a few minutes after the hour to ask your questions and have me answer them. The 12th thing, the final thing that I always throw in when I talk about millennials is I always say you tell them why. They live in a world where they are flooded with information. If they don't know why something has to be done, they're not going to do it. They will just filter you out. So that's not a particular strategy I've seen any particular business do. It's just something I always say because I think it's the best advice that I can give you. Now, as a bonus, by the way, I said there were 12 things. There's probably 13, but this kind of covers the whole thing. All of these companies I've mentioned, without exception, actually, as I think about it, all promote their employer brand all the time. So they are good at capturing the stories of what they are doing with young people in their business and sharing those stories, often through websites, videos, social media channels. In other words, they make a thing of employees. They say, we take this seriously. And maybe that's the main point I want to make to you. If you want to connect with millennials, if you want to manage millennials better, if you want to learn from the companies that are doing the best at this, this has got to be something you take seriously. It's something you've got to do all the time. So hopefully those 12 things are helpful for you in doing that. I hope that some of you are doing some of those things already, and that all I've done is reminded you and affirmed what you've already done. But I also hope that in that 12, there were things you haven't thought of and can start doing so that you can improve. What I want to do now, very briefly, is just let you know how we can help you. We are the Future of Work Academy. We run these webinars every month where we take topics that we are hearing from our clients and give you insights and resources that help you make the most of them. The Future of Work Academy, as I said, is made up of a set of courses and resources that will help you to develop the skills that you are going to need in the future. Now, obviously, you need them now already, but 5 years from now, 10 years from now, these are going to be the skills that will make sure you've still got a job and that the robots don't replace you. And we've got to start now. You can't wait until your boss walks into your office and saying, I'm replacing you with software, so you're redundant from the end of this month. Then only do you start developing those skills. Too late. Some of these skills need time. You're going to have to develop them. So what we've done in the Future of Work Academy is we've created a number of courses that will help you to develop these skills step by step, lesson by lesson, lessons that will take as short as 10 minutes for you to do, but there are longer lessons. We've put them in a format where you can access them via your phone, on a mobile device, on your computers. You can do them on your lunch breaks. You can do one a week. You can do one a day, depending on how much time you've got. We also give you a book club. Every month we show you a book that you can read. In fact, let me dive into the next slides here. Sorry, before I talk about the book club, just a reminder, the course that you really want to sign up for at the moment is the course on diversity and social intelligence. That's where we put the lessons that relate to generations and millennials. You'll see the lessons listed there on the slide. It's about embracing diversity. It's about what respect means to different people. There's a workshop outline that we've given you on 7 characteristics of the millennials. And this webinar will form part of that course as well. We talk about talent in a multi-generational workplace and so on. So the particular course I would recommend for you as a starting point is this diversity and social intelligence course, if this topic we're talking about today is of interest. The book club I was talking about, every month we do a summary of a book. We put the summary up, and then we give you a discussion guide so you can discuss this book with your colleagues, with your team. The third thing that we do is we provide you with a set of resources. These are discussion guides, group activities that you can use with your team, with your family, in a school classroom, that will help you to think about the future and think about the future of work. So some of you, I think, are asking, okay, all of that sounds fantastic. What are you going to stiff me for that? What's the price of this? Well, the price, I hope you're sitting down, because the price of this is $4.95 per month. That's it. It's no hidden costs. We're not dragging you in and then there's a whole lot of stuff that you've got to unlock, like they do with some apps. No, that is the price. $4.95 per month. You sign up, you get access to everything right from the start. Now, some people have asked us why a crazy low price like this. And there are 2 answers to that. The first is we kind of looked at the cost of a magazine. So Harvard Business Review or The Economist that you might be subscribing to right now, something you've subscribed to say, I want to understand the world, the changing world around me. Well, cancel that subscription and do this instead, because we'll read those magazines and we'll summarize them for you and give you that summary as part of the academy. It's the price of a business book. You go and you buy an ebook online. It'll cost you about $5, $6. That's the price we want to charge you, so that this becomes not this massive program you've signed on for, but kind of like a magazine that you can flip through. 10 minutes a day, just flip through the magazine, read another article tomorrow. But it's a magazine that will help you prepare for the future of work. The other reason for that price is because we want to make it accessible to you and to everybody. We don't want anybody to think that the price of this thing is too expensive. Really, $4.95. Now, we've got different people from different parts of the world, so that's US dollars. Do the calculation for you in your part of the world. I hope it feels cheap to you, because we want you to think this is a no-brainer. Just in case you're still worried about the price, we're going to give you a 100% guaranteed money back promise. If you log in, don't like what you see, tell us, cancel your subscription, you get your money back. There's no contracts. We're not locking you in. If you log into the academy for 3 months and you get good benefit, and then you think, well, I'm done now, I've got everything I need, you just cancel. That's it. So yeah, really, honestly, we're trying to make this easy for you. I hope that sounds easy. So the Future of Work Academy is something you can look at on your mobile device, on your tablet, on your computer, connect in with it every day. If you sign up for it now, as somebody who is on this webinar, if you sign up in the next 24 hours, we're going to give you a bonus as well. In addition to all the magnificent resources, that course I've recommended to you, all the other courses, we're also going to give you something which I hope will be valuable to you because of the topic we've talked about today. Colleague of mine, Ray de Villiers, he's part of our team, wrote an ebook on the digital natives. The digital natives is a label we use to talk about a particular aspect of these millennials, their digital mindset. And this ebook is a fantastic insight into the digital world of today's millennials, and it will give you some really practical advice on how to connect with them and get the most out of them and give them what they're looking for as digital natives. So if you sign up now, how do you sign up? How do you join the Academy? It's very, very simple. Just go to this link, okay? It is bit.ly, so no www or anything like that, bit.ly, bit.ly/getfoa. Now, please notice the capital letters there, capital G, lowercase et, and then capital FOWA, Future of Work Academy. That's what that stands for. bit.ly/getfoa. If you get that right and you copy that link and you go to that page, you'll be able to sign up, easy as pie. We will then pick up your contact details and we will send you that bonus material of that Digital Natives ebook, in addition to everything else you can get. Okay, I hope that will help you. I hope that the Future of Work Academy is something that can work alongside you over the next months and years to help you get ready for this future of work. Now, I've run a little bit over time, and I apologize for that. But if you're still with me and you can still stick with me, I don't have to rush anywhere. So I am happy to answer a few questions for us now. So I'm going to ask Jude to just hand over some questions that she has seen coming through. And any of you who have some questions now, hop along there to the chat facility and put them in. So, Louise asked, I think I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Louise, you asked, how would you apply flexible working arrangements in a fixed time industry? And that's a really great question, because obviously, if you're in a retail environment and the shop opens at 9 a.m. and closes at 8 p.m., well, you know, you can't be flexible. You can't say to people, well, come in when you want to and go home when you want to. So there are two answers to your question. The first is that we can give people who are working in kind of that fixed environment, we might have to create an environment where we give them a day or two of flexibility. So let's take, you gave me the example of a receptionist, for example. So as a receptionist sitting behind a desk at a building, I mean, they need to be there. But what you could do is you could say to them, look, we're going to get one person in the building who is going to take over your job for 2 days in a month, for example. And you're going to do something else for those 2 days. So this brings in the mindset of job rotation, job shadowing that I spoke about a little bit earlier. When you get them away from that time and geographically located space, then you can give them flexibility in the other space. It's just an example, but we do, yes, recognize that some jobs come with a geographical set and a time set location, and there we've got to be a little bit more creative about it. We also need to recognize that there are some jobs which can be done remotely. So I just push your brain a little bit into the future. Imagine a reception desk where you could have somebody working the reception desk, but they're not physically there. So basically, you walk up to reception, there's an iPad, you log in, you check into the iPad, and somebody comes up with a video that pops up on the other side. They're live, so there's a live video. Hi, welcome to our building. Can I help you to log in? Can I, any questions I can answer? You're in a live video chat with this person, but it's a video chat. It's not the actual person. That person could be anywhere on the planet and still be your receptionist if you're prepared to have a digital receptionist. So I'll leave you with that thought from the future. Now, let's see what else we've got here. Vumili, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Vumili asked, please unpack African millennials specifically and how they differ. This is a great question, Vumili, because, different people ask, are there different countries in the world different? A lot of the research on millennials comes out of the United States of America. And people rightly say, well, is the rest of the world like that? And the answer is yes and no. So first of all, yes, American millennials are a particular type of millennial, and we must be careful of just taking something that we read research done in America and dumping it into our own countries and our own contexts. However, if you were to start playing Beyonce in an office in America, or an office in Germany, or an office in Japan, or an office in Ghana, or an office in Mozambique, or an office in Cape Town, you'd have very similar reactions from different people. The older generation might say, oh, that's not really office music. The younger generation would go, woohoo, Queen Bee's in the house. Now, I've probably been horrifically old at saying that. I'm trying to channel the teenagers who will help me with that kind of stuff. But the point I'm trying to make is that there are global cultures at the moment. Look at the global reach of the Black Panther movie, now the highest ranking movie of all time. It connected, yes, with Africa, but it connected with everybody. And I think that millennials have a much better global mindset. And so some of the things I've been talking about here, we need to think about how you would apply them in a particular country or a particular city or a particular industry. But I think in general, what I've said can be applied across cultures, across countries, across industries. Gerard asked, what is the next generation that's coming after this? Some people call it Generation Z. Some people call it the connected generation. I'm not sure yet. They are still kind of 8, 9, 10 years old. I think as sociologists, we wanting to just hold off a little bit before we label them and put them in little boxes. But I think that they are going to be a generation who are going to be a lot better at connection. I like the label connected generation, but digitally connected, of course. Gerard asked another question about the pendulum effect, and I'm not sure I fully understand this, Gerard, but if I do understand it, you might be asking about sort of a good example might be companies that have centralized management structures often then move to decentralized management structures, and then a few years later come back to centralization again. And so the question, I suppose, is, are some of these trends or some of these things that we've talked about, are they a pendulum effect? And then in a few years' time, we'll come back again. So it's an interesting question. Take, for example, this micro-learning issue. I mentioned that Canadian company Axonify, who do micro-learnings. It might be that in a few years' time, people say, no, I don't want to consume my learnings in 5-minute segments. The future of work at Academy that we've got. We've tried to create lessons that you can do during your lunch break, so they 10 minutes, 20 minutes long. If you're commuting on a train and you've got half an hour, then we try and do something that you can squeeze in there, rather than ask you to take a day or 2 or 3 days away from the office. And it might be that in a few years' time, people say, you know what, I'm not getting the depth of engagement. I'm missing the human interaction. Pardon me, I'm missing the human interaction. So it might be that we shift back to 2-day, 3-day, week-long programs. It could be, it could happen, but I don't see it happening in the next 5 to 10 years. Millennials are only just making their voices heard in our workplace, and those of us who are listening to them are seeing a tectonic shift in the world of work. And it's not just a shift around a few techniques and things. It's a mindset shift about work, meaning, purpose, life goals. And I don't think that these millennials are going to grow out of this stuff. I don't think they're going to grow up and say, oh, well, when I was in my 20s, I wanted flexible working. Now that I'm in my 40s, I would much prefer to come into an office and sit behind a desk all day. I do honestly think this is a structural shift in society. and a deep and significant and permanent change in human history. And that's why let me use this. Let me use this to no, in fact, sorry, there have been 2 or 3 more things coming in. Let me answer these questions. So Judy asks, how do you provide structure and support without babying or suffocating people? And that does come down a little bit, Judy, to personal style. But here's a simple way. Let's say you've given a millennial a project, some task that has to be done. They've got to do a little bit of research, write a report, and then present that report to the team by the end of the week. An older manager would do exactly what I've just said. They would say, right, here's the research I need you to do, structure it into a report. Here's maybe an example of a report that we did from last year, and, Friday, 10 o'clock, you're doing it. And then kind of leave them alone. And then Friday, 9 o'clock, you connect with them and say, you're ready to go. You're good to go. What you want to do is create milestones along the way. So if the person's got 4 days to do this project, this little mini project you've given them, you think the research should take 2 days. And the research is of, 3 different things they have to research. So there are 3 milestones, right? And you would check in with them at each of those milestones. At the end of Wednesday afternoon, you check in and say, you probably should have all of your research done. Do you have any questions? Can I maybe have a quick look at the research? Is there anything I can help you with? Notice those are all questions. I'm not imposing myself on them, but I'm indicating to them where I think they should be now, and I'm asking them questions which show I'm here to help you. Now, imagine they haven't even started their research yet. They'll freak out, but you freak them out midway rather than right at the end. Then the next day you'll go to them and say, are you ready with your report? Can I have a look? Can I help you? Can I give you other examples? Or would you like to experiment with your presentation? Let me see it. So you're just offering yourself more as a resource rather than a supervisor. But milestones is the answer to your question. Put milestones in place and check in with them on those milestones. Mark asks, I work in a traditional church environment and we struggle to connect or attract millennials. How does all this translate into creating spaces in the church environment that will attract involvement? Now, Mark, I happen to also be a person of faith and understand the church environment a little bit. Look, a lot of what I've said here will work for the church environment as well. But maybe it's just worthwhile us doing a webinar on the church environment, because it is something I know. So if that's something that would interest any of you, just drop us a note and maybe we'll create a particular webinar for the church world, because there is a lot that I could say about it. But if I started now, you wouldn't stop me for an hour again. And now I think we do need to be starting to end this. I think that's it. I think there are 1 or 2 repeats coming through. If I've missed anybody's question, I do apologize for that. If you do want more information, if we can help you in any further way, please do contact us. This is what we do. We're very happy to provide help, to send you resources. But most importantly, I think you'll get a really lot of help and a lot of insight if you sign up to the Future of Work Academy. So just to remind you one last time before we call it quits today, if you go to bit.ly/getfoa, or if that's not making any sense to you and you can't see my screen, then just go to the Future of Work Academy, sign up, indicate to us you heard about the Future of Work Academy through the Managing Millennials webinar. We will then send you that bonus gift of the Digital Natives ebook, and you will get instant access to all of the resources available in the Future of Work Academy. I highly recommend that when you get in there, you go to the section on courses and you sign up for the Diversity and Social Intelligence course, because that will give you further information about this issue that we've been talking about for the last hour and a quarter. So thank you so much for taking time out. Thank you for spending the last 75 minutes with me. I've been Graeme Codrington. This has been the Future of Work Academy, and hopefully you are better equipped now to manage millennials.